Welcome to this complete Azure Data Engineering tutorial. I'm going to walk you through everything you need to build enterprise-grade data pipelines on Microsoft Azure, from architecture decisions to production security. Azure Data Engineering is the practice of designing, building, and maintaining data pipelines and infrastructure on Microsoft Azure. The goal is to transform raw, unreliable data into trusted, analytics-ready assets at scale. The four core disciplines are ingestion, collecting data from over 100 sources, including databases, APIs, files, and streams. Transformation, cleaning, enriching, and reshaping data using SQL, Apache Spark, or no-code tools. Storage, persisting data in Azure Data Lake, Synapse Analytics, or purpose-built analytical stores. And serving, delivering that data to Power BI dashboards, machine learning models, or downstream applications. The modern Azure Data Platform follows the Medallion architecture, 3 layers called Bronze, Silver, and Gold. Bronze is raw data, exactly as it arrived from the source. Nothing is changed, nothing is deleted. Silver is the cleansed and conformed layer, where duplicates are removed, schemas are standardized, and business rules are applied. Gold is the analytics-ready layer, aggregated, enriched, and trusted data that powers dashboards and reports. Azure Data Factory orchestrates the movement between all 3 layers, and Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 stores every layer cost-effectively at petabyte scale. Azure Data Factory is the orchestration hub of every Azure Data Platform. It provides over 100 connectors to sources including SQL Server, Azure Blob Storage, REST APIs, SAP, and Salesforce. The copy activity handles bulk data movement with built-in parallelism and fault tolerance. Mapping data flows give you a visual, no-code ETL experience that runs on managed Spark clusters. No infrastructure to manage. Triggers can be time-based on a schedule, tumbling window for late-arriving data, or event-based when a file lands in storage. The integration runtime is the compute backbone. Azure IR for cloud workloads, self-hosted IR for on-premises sources behind firewalls, and SSIS IR for legacy SQL Server integration services packages. Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 is the foundation of every modern Azure data platform. It combines the massive scalability of Azure Blob Storage with a hierarchical namespace that makes directory-level operations fast and atomic. POSIX access control lists give you fine-grained permissions at the file and folder level, essential for multi-team data platforms. Lifecycle policies automatically tier data from hot to cool to archive based on access patterns, dramatically reducing storage costs. Delta Lake adds ACID transactions on top of Parquet files, giving you reliable, version data with time travel queries. Zone redundancy options, locally redundant, zone redundant, and geo-redundant, let you choose the right durability SLA for each dataset. Azure Synapse Analytics is the unified analytics platform that brings together data integration, enterprise data warehousing, and big data analytics. The dedicated SQL pool is a massively parallel processing engine designed for large-scale structured analytics. You distribute tables using hash distribution for large fact tables, round robin for staging, and replicate it for small dimension tables. Always pause the pool when it is not in use. You are billed per hour it is running. The serverless SQL pool lets you query Parquet, CSV, and JSON files directly from Data Lake using T-SQL. You pay only per terabyte scan with no infrastructure to provision. Synapse pipelines are Azure Data Factory compatible orchestration built directly into the Synapse workspace. And Synapse Lake provides zero ETL analytics over Azure Cosmos DB and Microsoft Databricks operationally. Azure Databricks is the managed Apache Spark platform for large-scale data transformation, machine learning, and streaming. It is deeply integrated with Azure Data Lake Storage and Microsoft Purview. Delta Live tables let you define your ETL pipeline declaratively. You describe what the data should look like, and Databricks handles the execution, retries, and data quality enforcement automatically. Unity Catalog provides unified governance across tables, files, machine learning models, and dashboards, a single place to manage permissions across your entire Databricks workspace. Autoloader handles incremental ingestion from Data Lake with automatic schema evolution and exactly once processing semantics. And the Photon engine is a vectorized query execution engine that runs up to 12 times faster than standard Spark for SQL workloads. Real-time streaming on Azure follows a clear pattern. Producers, IoT devices, applications, and log systems publish events to Azure Event Hubs, which handles over 1 million events per second and is fully Kafka compatible with a 7-day retention window. Azure Stream Analytics processes those events using SQL-based windowed queries, tumbling windows for fixed time intervals, hopping windows for overlapping periods, and sliding windows for continuous aggregation. Results are written to Power BI for real-time dashboards, Cosmos DB for operational applications, or back to Data Lake for batch processing. For more complex transformations, Spark Structured Streaming in Databricks provides micro-batch or continuous processing with full Delta Lake integration. Microsoft Purview is the unified data governance solution for the Azure Data Platform. The data catalog automatically discovers and classifies over 200 data types, including personally identifiable information, financial data, and health records across your entire Azure estate. Data Lineage tracks the complete journey of every data asset from its source through every ADF pipeline, Synapse transformation, and Databricks notebook to its final destination. Sensitivity labels from Microsoft Information Protection can be applied to data assets to enforce encryption and access policies. Access policies let you grant read access to data assets without copying credentials or managing connection strings. For GDPR compliance, Purview generates data maps that satisfy Article 30 records of processing activities requirements. Enterprise security for Azure data platforms rests on 2 pillars: identity and network. For identity, always use managed identity. Assign the storage blob data contributor role to your ADF, Synapse, and Databricks service principals, and never store credentials in pipeline parameters or notebooks. Enable Azure Active Directory conditional access to enforce multi-factor authentication for all human access. For network isolation, deploy all services into a virtual network and enable private endpoints for data lake storage, Synapse Analytics, and Key Vault. Disable public network access on every service. Route all outbound traffic through Azure Firewall with application rules. The golden rule is simple. Every service authenticates via managed identity, every secret lives in Key Vault, and no data ever leaves the virtual network unencrypted. Before going live with any Azure data platform, work through this 8-point checklist. First, confirm your Medallion architecture is defined. Bronze, silver, and gold layers are clearly separated in your data lake. Second, Delta Lake is enabled on all tables for ACID transaction support. Third, managed identity is configured on all ADF, Synapse, and Databricks services. No passwords or keys in code. Fourth, private endpoints are active for data lake storage, Key Vault, and Synapse. Fifth, data quality checks are enforced in Delta Live tables or ADF validation activities. Sixth, Purview catalog scans are scheduled and end-to-end lineage is verified. Seventh, Azure Monitor alerts are configured for pipeline failures, data drift, and cost anomalies. And eighth, cost budgets are set and Synapse dedicated SQL pools are configured to pause automatic public items. You now have the complete Azure Data Engineering blueprint: the Medallion architecture, Data Factory orchestration, Synapse Analytics, Databricks Spark processing, real-time streaming, Purview governance, enterprise security, and production-ready checks. The private AI in your target 2.0